Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of the Babymetal podcast. It's August 25th, 2019, here as we record. The podcast is a place where we gather on something like alternate weeks, although it's been something like weeks now, to discuss news and thoughts on the past and future projects of Babymetal. We invite you to join us, whether you're a longtime fan or have only just arrived. I am Paul, and I am joined by Kevin.
Welcome back, everyone.
And Garrett.
Hello.
Also Garrett's bird. And our special guest expert, Gabe.
Hi.
All right. So we have a special guest expert with us today because one of the main things that we're going to try to talk about is the, sort of the origins of Babymetal and the background of these Avenger participants in the new shows. So the first thing I think we can talk about is, who is Gabe? What is Gabe's background? So Gabe, could you tell us a little bit about sort of how you came to be in this world?
Hello. Hi. To start, I have been a Kitsune since 2014 and a Fuke fan of Sakura Gakuin since 2015. And I've been a long-time fan for 4 or 5 years now. And I'm here to hopefully bridge the gap a little bit between Babymetal and Sakura Gakuin.
Great, thanks. Yeah, it's I think it's very useful to have someone here who knows a little bit more about that part. I think I have found myself that it's sort of deepened my own appreciation a lot of Babymetal to kind of know a lot of this background stuff, and so that's what I'm hoping that we will bring to the people who are listening. I'll talk more about that, the plan later. But okay, so I think there were a couple of things, sort of newsy things that I kind of wanted to say. First, we can talk a little bit about this. Only two, really. But the first is Dailymotion has imploded, and it is terrible.
Saddening.
Everything.
Very.
So, and I think this was basically because, from what I understand, Dailymotion got hit by a really big fine for not policing copyright content, and so they kind of went on a rampage and not only just took out, they didn't just take out things that were getting claims, but they took out people's whole accounts. So, in particular, I think Thrani lost his, which had a lot of stuff on it. And so and the reason I think that we liked Dailymotion before was that they were a little bit lax on copyright claims. YouTube a lot of times will just take stuff off immediately. You almost can't even upload it. Dailymotion tended to kind of look the other way, I guess, a bit.
Yeah.
So, so the thing I think that's most disturbing about that, and I'll stop talking here in a second and let everybody else, mourn it as well, but is that there were a lot of things that were up there that were not for sale and cannot be bought. They're like appearances, TV appearances, and in particular subtitled things. Someone took the time to put the subtitles on it, and I'm assuming for the most part the video exists on somebody's hard drive, but in some cases it might be people who are no longer really in it anymore. So it might be hard to get it back from them if people didn't capture it themselves. So anyway, anyone want to continue the rant?
Yeah, it's really kind of tragic. And, I hadn't even thought about the stuff we're losing, like the TV appearances that are subtitled, all that stuff. I didn't even think about that right away when the apocalypse kind of started here. And that's worse to me than losing like concerts or performances or things like that. Especially since DVRs aren't really a thing in Japan. So to get that content online in the first place was difficult. And like you said, it's got to exist on somebody's hard drive. And even if it does, where do we go from here with that kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I do feel like that. I'm agreeing with what Greb's saying, that it's arguably more important than concerts themselves. Because sure, there's live shows, but the interviews, the talk segments, all that stuff, that's almost as important as live shows themselves. Because they kind of bridge the gap between each live show, just little things to keep us invested in our girls.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think, there's a certain amount, I think that is a lot of that is the stuff that kind of gives us their character and stuff. I mean, like, it's conceivable that the stuff, just the 15th interview of Babymetal going, only the Fox God knows, is not necessarily all that useful. But
Sure.
but I mean, like, in particular those, what was it in, was this a show in Taiwan or something? There was some show that was in Mandarin that had a name actually, like Sakura Gaku or something like that, where they were playing with the frog or whatever. We'll talk about that more. But I mean, like, that's the stuff that it's critical. We have this, like, it was super important to all of us in our background in this fandom. So
yeah, hopefully it's out there.
Maybe we can track down all the people who have it on their hard drives and get it in a single location.
Yeah, so if you're a listener, if you're a listener of the podcast and you have any of this stuff, if you can't host it somewhere, let us know or let the community know, and we'll figure out a way to get it out there.
Yeah, we want to archive this.
Yeah, the trick is, of course, though, that, I mean, for some of the things, that aren't concerts, maybe it won't be as hit as hard, but I mean, as soon as they're all collected in one public place, then they're a target.
Right.
So yeah, if we have ideas, I mean, like, of a place to put these things, then it would be good. This actually fits in relatively well to the next thing, so maybe I'll just transition into this as well. That we are getting really, really close to the beginning of the US part of the Babymetal tour, and there's almost no word at all from official. Like, there's, they're tweeting things about the Japanese lottery starting and stuff like that. There's some mention of, there's a little bit of radio play for the Elevator Girl English version, I guess, and maybe mention of the forum at the end of the tour. But right now, most of these places are not sold out, and everybody's going to hear about them after they're over.
I don't think anything's sold out, is it?
Yeah. In the US tour, probably.
Yeah, in the US tour. You
So-
contrast that to other years where they've sold out almost all their venues.
Yeah. So I don't know. And I mean, so the fact is, the fact that we can't easily put things up and share them because they get instantly struck, makes it very hard to do the same kind of viral marketing that happened before, even on our own, so we need official to do something, and they're not doing anything.
It makes you wonder, why they have 5B. They're supposed to be their, I don't know what the word is, their publicist or label here in the US, right?
Mm-hmm.
And radio silence from them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think these things, that the Dailymotion apocalypse it kind of came at a particularly bad time for this.
Oh, yeah.
So, and of course, and anyone who's trying to do reaction videos runs a very strong risk of getting it struck immediately, even before it's been up. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, and I do sort of believe that this is maybe like different organizations that are just not working toward the same goal, So it may well be that the Babymetal team itself would really like these things to still be out there and aren't themselves taking them down. But anyway,
Only the Fox God knows.
right?
Common sense. The answer to everything in life.
Yeah, I couldn't resist. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, and that
Let's
actually
get 2019. He's still making those jokes.
I know. I'm terrible.
Well, just even in, I think it was in the Super Slippa, the interviews right around the Super Slippa show, Moa learned in Mandarin how to say, only the Fox God knows. I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
Small things like that.
Yeah. But the other thing I was going to mention here too, like the last sort of instance of this podcast that we had was us talking about the 30-second previews of the upcoming album. And as far as I know, those are also, gone now. I don't know of any place that they're still up in like on a retailer site. So, yep. That's
It'll be interesting as we get close here.
Anyway. Okay. So, I mean, I that was basically sort of it on the news stuff. I wanted to complain a bit about Dailymotion and the lack of PR. So I don't even know if that counts as news. It's sort of like,
Red
news of things
segment.
missing.
Yeah. Soapbox.
Yeah, soapbox.
But okay, so now I think maybe we can just turn to like the main thing here. I have no idea how long we'll talk, but there's a lot to talk about. So what I think I will say what I think we're planning to do. If anyone wants to add to this, let me know, or just say it. I mean, but so I think basically what we were thinking about doing is sort of serving two goals. It could be that some people listening are new fans of Babymetal, maybe have seen the music videos and the shows and stuff, but really don't know or only vaguely know what Sakura Gakuin is. But yet there's still mention of pink flags and DeLoreans and stuff, and you may not know what those mean. So that's one group of people I think that we kind of like to talk a little bit to, sort of say what Sakura Gakuin is, say why it's more interesting than it might seem, perhaps. But then there's a whole sort of like second group who might know Sakura Gakuin up through the point when the people who are in Babymetal left it. But now that we have these new Brave Avengers, Kano and Momoko, they now sort of make the rest of the Sakura Gakuin period relevant. So for my own part, I sort of knew a fair amount about it up to the March 2015, when Moa and Yui left. But
Very
then
common.
I sort of sorry.
Very common. Yeah.
Yes.
Keep
Yeah,
going,
exactly. Yeah, no, I do think that there's many people in my category where I'm not uninterested in Sakura Gakuin. It's just that I didn't have something to hang on to at that point. But now now it would be interesting to sort of talk about what's happened since then and who Kano and Momoko are and that sort of thing. So that's sort of the second piece. And since we're talking about Avengers, we'll also talk about Riho. In fact, we'll talk about Riho first, probably, just because she's the most kind of like different. But so how does that sound as a plan?
Yeah. Yep. Sounds good.
Good plan.
All right. Okay, so we'll start with Riho. Riho Sayashi.
Maybe we should start with a brief reminder on what is going on. Who
Sure.
are the Avengers? What
That's
is
a
their
good idea.
purpose?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I get to do that? Okay.
I just feel like I'm always talking. So
Well, I mean, you are the host. I'm just color commentary. But I'll take this one. Don't worry
Okay.
about it. So if for whatever reason you're out of the loop and you don't know what's going on, up until last year with the departure of Yui Mizuno, Babymetal had been a 3-person thing. 3 girls on stage, 1 singing, 2 dancing, etc. Last year with the departure of Yui, we got some backup dancers and some weird things happened. This year, however, they've decided to go back to the 3-person format. And the way they're doing that is they've introduced what they're calling Avengers, 3 of them. And as I understand it, and as they've tried to explain it, we don't know who is going to be the one of those Avengers performing with Sue and Moa at any given time. So they're a rotating trio of backup dancers that perform with Sue and Moa sometime whenever they're available, who knows. So those are the Avengers. So that's why we're here. We have gotten to that, and we think maybe coming to the US tour, if you're new, you don't know who these girls are, we can help you out with that. So with that, take it away, Paul, and let's get into Riho Sayashi.
Yes. Right. So I think it is actually sort of worth at this point, kind of like talking about them individually, because so we had somebody that was in sort of this position before, but unnamed. And everybody knew who she was, but now we're in this position where we were told there are 3 of them, and we have seen all 3 of them. We know who all 3 of them are. So it does, it's at a point where we can kind of look into them individually, because we know that one of those 3 is going to be in the forthcoming, whatever it is, like, 40 some shows or something, right? At least that's what we expect.
One or more, I suppose.
Yeah.
Depends on how many they take on tour. Anyways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, what I intended was that in each of those shows, we will have one of these people at least.
Right. Sure.
I expect we won't have more than two or more than one in any given show, but...
Well, no, I think they were pretty clear on the lore, if you will.
Yeah, the hierarchy.
You're right.
Yeah, at the beginning of the shows in Japan that started in Yokohama, they were very clear about, like, here is Su Metal, here is Moa Metal, and here's someone who's supporting Su Metal and Moa Metal.
Right.
Who we will
3
not
Brave
name.
Avengers summoned by the Fox God.
Yeah. But okay, so the first of in this position that we got was Riho Sayashi, and she's sort of different from the other two in that she doesn't have any connection to Sakura Gakuin. So so that kind of makes it sensible to talk about her first, not only just because she was the first to appear. There's still a connection though. So she joined the actor school Hiroshima in 2004, which is actually before Sue did. So Sue was also in this actor school Hiroshima. She joined in 2006, and I think they were both... It's unclear to me how long they were there, but they were definitely there together for, something in the 5-ish years range. So, and I've seen some references to them, these two, Riho and Sue, being kind of friendly rivals, for the sort of top spot. So they definitely knew each other from before, which is interesting. Probably had something to do with Riho being thought of.
Right. And then they went very different directions.
Yeah. So what happened so Riho in 2011 joined Morning Musume as a 9th generation member. And so I wanted to talk maybe a little bit about what Morning Musume is. So it's sort of a parallel universe in a way from what we're used to thinking about with Amuse and Sakura Gakuin and stuff. But so Upfront Promotion is an artist management company, so kind of parallel to Amuse, I suppose. And Hello Project is the idol arm of that. And Morning Musume is their flagship group. So it's a group. And it is a huge group. It was formed in 1997. It has lots of, top statistics. It has the most top 10 albums, biggest DVD seller, most top 10 singles. And the note I took is that they're in the same league as AKB48. I'm not sure that that's... I don't know if that's meaningful, but...
I would
disagree?
say so. But, yeah.
They're at any rate, they're massive. They are huge. And the structure of Morning Musume is essentially that there's members coming in through auditions and graduating. It's not as structured as we'll hear about Sakura Gakuin, but there's definitely sort of like a flow of people sort of in and out. There's also a television show that is associated with this. So where was that information? The show is called I think Hello Morning, and I've lost the tab that I was looking at. But yes, it's a weekly Japanese TV show featuring members of Morning Musume and sometimes other Hello Project members. And the most interesting fact I learned today was that it is the place where the dramatic chipmunk came from. So if anybody knows the dramatic chipmunk meme, that came from Morning, whatever.
Kind of an old one, but
yeah, Hello Morning show. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I always knew it was from some weird Japanese show, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I remember too, but I had no idea that all these years later it would circle back on me like this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Such a classic meme that never would have thought.
Yeah. But anyway, so I think the main thing that's kind of worth mentioning here is just that Riho is a big deal on her own. I mean, she was a very well known in a group that was very well known. She graduated from the group in 2015 and went to study English and dance abroad, mostly in New York. And then at the end of 2018, she left the company. So she left Hello Project and Upfront at that point. But so it's interesting if you go look at her performances and things, because you can often see her, sort of like in the center, being the main person. She's very prominent, and I'd never heard of any of these people before before she showed up as an Avenger, but it's interesting to know that.
Yeah, and I guess if you're unfamiliar, being the center in a big idol group is kind of a big deal. Like being the lead singer for like the Foo Fighters or something.
Yeah,
like
just think of it like an Indo president.
Well,
and if you don't know what that is, we'll talk about that later.
Right.
This is a good analogy.
I thought it was kind of interesting to just sort of see how things operate in a world that's, like Amuse but different, because what I know has all been Amuse. And Amuse, well, I guess we'll get to that too, but Amuse is the talent agency that's all the other people we're going to talk about sort of are gathered under. So Babymetal and Sakura Gakuin and Perfume and some others.
All that to be said, I think it's really interesting, after learning more about her background, that she's now basically an unmiked backup dancer who's to be nameless, at least in the context of Babymetal.
Yeah. No, I found that one of the more surprising things, that this is, there's a sense in which her presence on the stage is taking a big demotion, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, her sort of visibility to the world is much greater. Like people in the West will see her.
Yeah, sure.
So it's interesting. I mean, who knows what people actually want and what they're happy with and unhappy with, and I don't want to guess about that. It might be that this is exactly what she wants to be doing, but it is interesting, the contrast.
Yeah, she wouldn't be doing it if she didn't want to. So.
That's probably
that's
fair.
true.
But,
maybe she was tired of being.
Yeah.
Maybe she was tired of being in the center of attention and just wanted to do the same thing, but not have to deal with being the most famous person in the group.
Yeah. I'm just here to dance. That's it. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, but it also could be that she's done the computation and, she would prefer it to be different, but this is a better move for her. Could be that too. It's always tempting to kind of guess based on how we feel we would, feel in that spot. But that is probably a super inaccurate way to think.
I wonder if there's any temptation in the, I don't know, idol or dance community in Japan for somebody like Riho to want to join Babymetal if given the opportunity, for the chance to work with Mikiko as a dance instructor and choreographer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's probably a big deal. I have a small background in dance, and like when you're a professional dancer, it's pretty much a job is a job. Like no matter what, like it's probably one of the more competitive like professions I've seen. Like people can go from dancing in Disneyland to being like a backup dancer for like Beyonce or something. So
Sure.
So in dance in general, it's very, very competitive, and a job is a job. So
yeah, makes sense.
Anyway, yeah, so I think I didn't have that much more that I wanted to say about her, or even really know about her, but I think it is interesting to look at what she's done and at least take a passing glance at Morning Musume. I would not say, I mean, like, so I am myself pretty interested in Sakura Gakuin. I think, as we talk about that will become clear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking that I'm going to be interested in Morning Musume. I think they are fairly different kinds of things. But, except for sort of like their functional place in the world.
Right.
But anyway.
Might be worth mentioning too that at least on the surface, without being able to write Japanese fluently, it's really hard to find a lot of things about Riho. Searching in English about her history and the group she's been a part of was surprisingly difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that maybe circles back to your point, that maybe she is doing this to become more international. It's a good career move to be with Babymetal, who's growing internationally.
Right. I think that sounds about right to me. Like I'm sure there are plenty of people in the West who are interested in Morning Musume, but it's not a major part of their audience.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I feel bad stopping talking about her, except that there's much more to talk about. So So anyway, she's doing a great job, though. I mean, like I've been impressed with what I've seen of her there. Now that I know her background, it's not surprising.
She does have the lion's share of performances with Babymetal. She's done all but 4.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think she's done. I think I counted at some point. She's done like 6 so far.
Right, and it's like 6 of 10 shows this year so far.
Yeah, and Momoko has done just 1. Right.
Right.
So,
and I think it's probably worth speculating if I had to guess, and I'm sure Gabe will tell us a little bit why this might be a pretty good guess later, but if we're going to see anybody in the US and Europe, it will probably be Riho, if I had to guess.
Interestingly enough, your mic cut out when you actually gave the name of your guess, but I still
know
what
really?
you meant.
Yeah, I think a lot of people share that opinion too, or that thought.
Okay. Anyway, so let's now turn to maybe the thing that will occupy the rest of the time pretty easily. But so the other thing I wanted to do is beyond talking about the Avengers is to talk about Sakura Gakuin generally and how Babymetal fits into it and how where it came from. Just because I think at least there are probably a lot of people who are in the same boat I was in, where you sort of discover Babymetal and you're interested in that. You watch the shows, the kids are cute or whatever, but you still have this feeling like, well, it was in a boardroom, some committee decided like this would be a good way to make money, and almost everything in that sentence is false. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that. So I guess maybe I'll pose this as a question to Gabe, and then we can maybe talk about the things that come up. But so I guess the first thing would be sort of, what is Sakura Gakuin? How did it start? Like what is this thing?
Well, sit down, children, and have a seat. Let me tell you the tale as old as time. No, Sakura Gakuin is an idol group that's pretty much intended to develop a lot of like amuse talents. So, and like most idol groups, people who graduate from it. And when they but the thing with Sakura Gakuin is you graduate at a certain age, and after that graduate will move on to whatever, being like doing commercials, acting, like singing, dancing, sometimes like voice acting, like in anime, and it started in 2010. And I guess, would you want me to just break down like the Babymetal involvement, I guess, between
oh, well, sure. Or, I mean, like, although I think it's still also useful to just kind of know what this thing is. So,
Sakura Gakuin idol group. Difference between other idol groups is you graduate at a certain age.
Mm-hmm.
Instead
What's
of
that age?
The age is 15. End of the 3rd year in middle school.
How early can they get into Sakura Gakuin?
The earliest they can get in is 5th grade elementary. So the maximum tenure you can do with Sakura Gakuin is 5 years.
Okay.
Interesting.
So,
how old is a girl, say, at elementary school, 5th grade?
So 5th graders and 6th graders, they usually are around 10 to 11. So depending on when the birthday is or when the transfer in is, and et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha. So pretty young.
Yeah, very, very, very young. Yeah, I know it's easy to dismiss it but a lot of Fuke see these girls as daughters or sisters if you're not that old, and it's just extremely like heartwarming and they're really cute to watch them grow up from 10, 11, 12, 15, and then for them to perform on Babymetal stage is to watch them grow up is just it brings a tear to a lot of our eyes. So,
Yeah, you've used the word Fouquet,
Fouquet.
I guess is how you would probably really say it, right?
Yeah.
But so we know that that's the term for the fans of Sakura Gakuin.
Yes.
I always thought it was something sort of like Guardian or something like that. Does that sound right?
They tried to. They sold a piece of merch that had Team Guardian on it, and it never really like stuck. So I guess they never tried to attempt to make merchandise or push that term forward. So,
but that's still but that's kind of what the Japanese word means roughly, right?
Either parent or guardian. That's usually what Fouquet means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know the feeling does seem to be something sort of like uncle,
Yeah.
protective uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Proud protective uncle.
Yeah, but we mostly see it as just as a fan. But the little definition, is uncle, father, just like protector, I guess, in the shortest way.
And I guess in a way that also that sort of gives away the thought of like what the demographic's likely to be. But my impression is that it's actually it's a pretty wide range of fans.
Very, yeah. I went to the last two graduation ceremonies, this year and last year, and the amount of Japanese fans they range from like 9, 10 years old, like girls that would be in Sakura Gakuin to all the way up to 40, and there were plenty of girls and guys there too. So it was really surprising to me to see that many.
It appeals to about everybody there.
Yeah, definitely. As opposed to like a Western Babymetal show would be like a lot of like metalheads or like some people that like younger people that like idols or something or like cutesy stuff. So
we have girls from 10 to 15. They graduate. Everybody seems to like them. They wear school uniforms. Is Sakura Gakuin a school? Like what's the goal here?
The goal is to pretty much hone their talents, I would say. And no, it is not actually a school. But there is stuff they do that kind of mimics school. So like at the end of the year, every year there's this thing called Nendo test, where it's seen as like usually it's a surprise every year, but at this point in time, like majority of the girls can see it coming. It's just a matter of when it'll come.
Oh,
and every year there's a little Nendo test, and then you the girls like answer, and usually like and compared to American schooling, which is what I'm familiar with, the scores aren't very like passable in Western standards. So, and it's funny seeing Mori Sensei, the homeroom, the teacher, of Sakura Gakuin, to like make fun of them for their answers and like how low their test scores are. And then during those tests, you get like funny reactions, sometimes sad reactions, shocking stuff like that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I guess so. 15 things that have sprung into my head as you were talking, but it does seem. I mean, like, so they're definitely projecting a school theme. So like that is their thing. That is the school.
Every idol group has a theme, and Sakura Gakuin is school themed.
But at the same time, and it isn't a school because they don't learn geometry there and stuff like that. But I still kind of feel. I still kind of cling on to the idea that it is a performance school. I mean, like, it is a dance school. It is a, they are being trained in an actual way. So it's just something that they do kind of like on weekends and stuff.
Yeah.
But, and the other thing too, so, when they are being presented, they're often being presented in a little classroom. And there is this, Mori, what's his name? Hayashi?
Mori Sensei.
Yeah, well, Mori Sensei.
Most of us just call him Mori.
Yeah.
Mori.
His last name is is something that starts with an H. But
Hayashi.
Yes, okay. So I did get it right. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he plays the role of the teacher, but in fact actually and I think he was historically like a comedian or something. But so his role, he actually is really super good at doing what he is there to do, which is to kind of like draw out individual people's personalities. So he makes sure everybody gets a chance to talk, and he kind of helps the individual members kind of like show to the world who they are. He's fantastic.
Very, very good at it. Very.
You mentioned the Nendo tests. So Nendo I think is the word for like fiscal year.
Yeah.
But so they every year they have this, and it's usually I think on like an extra on one of the versions of the DVDs
albums
that they put out.
Yeah, albums.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I guess the albums often come in several variants.
Yeah, there's an album that comes out every year, and then Nendo Test usually, the video of the Nendo Test comes out usually on the album, edition of the album every year. Yeah.
So there's lots of these to look at. I know that when I was first seeing them, I thought, this is just mean. but in fact, actually, it's clear after seeing them for a little bit that Mori totally loves these guys, and everybody is having a great time. The tests themselves are full of questions that they're supposed to be sort of like general knowledge questions, but essentially they're designed to get weird answers.
Yeah, definitely.
So then so you get the questions and then the answers, and then most of the time is spent with Mori up there, like showing, what crazy things people have said and have everybody laugh at the person who said them. Yeah.
Do you guys have any like examples of these questions off the top of your heads?
Oh yeah. I don't know if you guys know. It's a
super obvious one.
Yeah,
but
go ahead. I don't know if you know.
Got me curious now.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys know, but I don't know. Plenty of Kitsunes might be familiar with people calls CDs DeLorean.
Oh yeah.
And one of them in the Nendo Test that Sue is in, the question was, "Oh, what does D in DVD stand for?" And then Sue would answer DeLorean, and so that kind of just stuck with everybody. Like, oh, hey, we all call CDs and DVDs DeLoreans now.
And what's great about, I think, that in these moments is they film all this stuff, and you can go watch it. We talked. It's harder now. We talked about the Dailymotion apocalypse at the beginning of the episode, so it's a little bit harder to do this now. But would you say it's fair that things like that are one of the best ways to kind of get to know the members of Babymetal, Sue and Moa in particular, and then of course the rest of the ladies in the group?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, beyond Nendo Test, there's also like plenty of interviews, like introduction segments where they talk about themselves for like a minute or two. There's plenty of like get to know personality stuff when it comes to like Sue and Moa in their Sakura Gakuin days.
Yeah, maybe I'll just sort of mention again how this stuff comes to be. So every year they have these, they're a musical group, and they release albums, and very often. So in the first years there was the standard edition, and then there were 3 special editions that had different covers, and they came with DVDs, and they had different video on them. Yeah. So it was like the Sa version, the cover, Saku and Ra version.
The Saku, Saku and Ra version.
So the Nendo tests are on that, but also particularly in the earlier ones, there's other like interesting stuff. There's sort of like behind the scenes making of videos. There's
pictogram.
The pictogram video they did. There was little things where they would interview each other. There's all kinds of stuff there that's it's kind of like what you might have expected to be on a TV show if there was a TV show, but there isn't. It's just that's what this is. So there's actually all kinds of that content, and you can still buy that sort of. You can buy it from people who are reselling it.
Yeah. Speaking of TV shows, ever since 2015, they've had a little weekly segment where 4 girls would show up, and then they would either do like class-like stuff where they'll talk about like something like a joke, or they like reenact or they do like some acting things, or maybe like a little like performance thing. But every week there's a show where you just show off their personalities, and then Mori kind of like guides them into like it's sort of like a class, I guess, where you go through and like they have like a recess segment, and then a segment where they read like letters from Fuke all over.
So this is fresh, right?
Yes, fresh, and originally it was called Low Girl, but the Low Girl channel shut down. But Fresh was founded shortly afterwards. So
yeah, Low Girl. The format of that was a little bit different. They weren't sitting at desks. They were sort of. I don't know. I sort of like the Low Girl format more just because I'm more familiar with it. I really haven't watched much Fresh, but they both had that sort of characteristic that a subset of the members would be there, and Mori would just do stuff with them. Have them talk,
make jokes, talk about stuff.
There was, at least in the Low Girl times, there was often I don't know what it was called, but it was essentially like a little like lesson time of some kind, and often it would be so they'd be trying to figure out I remember one of them had to do with like what the proper counting word was for things, and little sort of Japanese things. Manande time. Yeah, that sounds right. And one of them had to do with maybe more of them had to do with like words in foreign languages. So they would put up in particular they put up one in one episode somewhere in the first 9 where there was like what was the people were supposed to guess what the meaning of the Finnish word moi moi was. So what happened
with the moi moi thing?
Well, because that's one of the things that does that has seeped into the kind of like the general culture of baby metal.
Well, it's pretty much, it came up on Low Girl, and then it was just kind of a nickname for Yuimo, and like it just honestly I haven't seen that episode in a while.
Oh,
because
okay. Well,
there's almost 200 episodes of Low Girl and Fresh altogether. So
sorry,
so
didn't mean to put you
my
on
memory
the
is
spot.
my memory is a little hazy on like the older stuff. So
I can fill that in just
Yeah.
I haven't seen that many of them, but so specifically they were supposed to guess what it is. What it really is something like goodbye, I think, in Finnish.
Yeah.
But so they all guessed, and Yui had this sort of very complex guess, which essentially was it was taking like one syllable of her name and one syllable of Moa's name, so that it was like the character for Mo and then the E on her name, and so they used like and repeated, so it was moi moi. And so that was her, her theory. She had a little diagram of like, what this was like the way you refer to Yui and Moa together. And, that was hilarious. And, that's something that people still use. I suppose probably in kind of decreasing amount now that Yui's not around, but to refer to, Moa and Yui together. And I guess
so it sounds like
I liked it a lot just because I like the fact that Yui came up with it. I mean, like it would have been. I would have not liked it nearly as much if it was just something fans came up with and called them.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like this whole thing is a great way to get to know who these people we like are. Sue, Moa, Yui. Would you say that's fair?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because they're out of their persona, right?
Yeah.
They're not. I mean, they're still acting a little bit because it's an idol group. But
I will mention. That weekly program didn't really start until Moi Moi's year, and they were only in it for only like 4 or 5 episodes or so. So there isn't any episodes of Suzuka, but there is still plenty of like interviews and such like that while in Sakura Gakuin to learn about her personality and such.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were a baby metal fan who is maybe new to the scene, and wants to know more about who these girls are, how would you point them in a direction as to get them to Sakura Gakuin?
About Sue and Moa, or just Sakura Gakuin altogether?
Well, I mean, I think we have to keep it relevant, right? So if I'm a baby metal fan going to a show, and I was like, okay, these girls are cool, and I Google them, and I get just a lot of them in costume, You know, what would be how would you expose somebody to, well, hey, you can go back in time and look at kind of when they were younger and learn more about them?
Well, when the Fukigate was still around, there was still like plenty of big little guide shows everything Nendo by Nendo or SG year, to keep it simple, I guess, for the non-Fuke in the audience, but simple, that would show every like it would list the videos and like for example the Sun episodes, they're like little class videos, I guess, and there's 12 episodes of them. That's really great way to start to get to know Sue and Moa. So probably I would personally say start with the Sun episodes.
Yeah, those are interesting. They're those are much more like real class things than anything else. I mean that they've done.
Yeah.
So it really is like, I think it's maybe like 3 episodes per topic, something like that. Maybe it's 2. But they actually just go through and learn things about whatever robots.
It really reinvigorates the school aspect of Sakura Gakuin. So
there's probably one of the so 2 things about the Sun things. First of all, I don't know if they're actually going to be findable anymore, but they do exist. You can buy them on DVD, but the of course they're in Japanese, so hopefully you can find them subtitled in English. I've never found the very last episode subtitled in English. I don't know why that one kind of got left out, but it's like the second half of the last lesson.
Yeah. So when I became Fuke, there's only like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 Sun episodes subbed, and now looking at it, they're pretty much almost all of them subbed, minus maybe the last one. For me, when Sakura SG is so active now with the graduates and the current members, it's hard to keep track of like the older stuff, to look at the older stuff, because you got to keep up with the newer stuff because stuff's always coming out.
Right.
It's a lot to keep up with. Like what I was saying earlier, that I kind of forget a lot of the older stuff because I'm following the current SG, and that's
sure. One other thing I wanted to say about Sun too is that I don't know what it stands for, but it doesn't really matter. Maybe it doesn't stand for anything, just Sun. But there's a field trip that they took, which is sort of like out of the regular flow, where they went to talk to I forgot the guy's name, but he's the guy that invented the, what is it called, the automaton. And, this weird sort of creative inventor, and sort of walked them through the process of coming up with creative ideas and stuff. It is super great. If you watch no other Sun thing, that's worth watching.
Very.
So how does this all tie in? Why are we talking about this? How does this tie in back to Babymetal, other than that we now have 4 people who kind of have their roots there?
Well, it ties in because I feel like when you follow a group very closely, and assume a lot of kitsunes here are very like pretty close to or around diehard, I guess, of Babymetal. And it's like we were talking earlier that in between the live shows and the concerts and the songs, like there's like little stuff to keep us going and keep us like, not like, if you only saw Suzuka through her performances, you would think she's like amazing and professional, but if you watch a lot of her Sakura Gakuin stuff, she's actually like extremely dorky. Like,
if you hadn't used the word dorky, I was going to definitely have to say that.
Yeah, it's really dorky. So, and you wouldn't know that if you only followed the shows. So there's a lot of personality to be seen.
So
beyond Babymetal.
Another thing, I just want to make sure everybody realizes this, and maybe you can talk more about this, Gabe. Babymetal didn't start as Babymetal. They started as a subunit, and maybe you can talk about what a subunit is too, of Sakura Gakuin.
Yeah, subunit is basically like a little after-school activity in Sakura Gakuin, but
which is that's essentially like the lore. I mean, in reality,
that's
sort of
that's the quote unquote lore for the easiest term, lore. And basically subunits are like where like certain amount of members, some a couple, 2, 3, or 4 members with from SG would make their own subunit, and they perform like a different style of song, like for SG. So SG is more like a kind of J-pop-ish,
Yeah.
maybe a couple like rock songs in there. Well, and there's for example, Babymetal would be like they would do the heavy metal, as you know, and then there's another one called Logica, but they would do like electronic based stuff, and then there's another one called Pro Wrestling Circle, which they would do like they only did one song, but it was more like motivational, like kind of fighting song. So in Sakura Gakuin, each subunit is different and has like little I guess kind of it's something it just adds another thing to add to the school aspect, just to an excuse to make like a different type of song.
I can also see it being sort of a part of the training, like in a sense, this is kind of what they're not likely to be, or at least one path they might pursue is as a smaller group, so they're giving people a chance to kind of lead their own smaller group or be in a smaller group.
Mm-hmm.
Yui and Moa were in a lot of them. I think, yeah. So they were in the heavy music group that was named Babymetal, but they were also in the cooking club, which
mini patty, yeah,
yeah, and something else. They were also in the Baton Club too, Twinkle Stars. So,
yeah.
So they were sort of recruited for everything. But so that's actually kind of cool too to see these people we know from Babymetal in their sort of alternate personas, because in fact, particularly in Mini Patti, Yui and Moa, they were in the second generation of that little group, but they have a much bigger role. I mean, like you can actually, they get to sing, and
right.
they're sort of much more front there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess if you're going down the foxhole and you find the very first performance of Doki Doki Morning, they're not performing as Babymetal there, right?
Don't know.
They
I think that name was pretty old.
Yeah, it's they are performing as Babymetal, but obviously not the Babymetal we know in today. It's
right.
Obviously, the older Babymetal in like when it was first created, it was way more idol friendly, and it's not as it wasn't as what's the word, like polished, I would say.
Sure.
As current Babymetal, so
because it was a subunit of Sakura.
Yeah, it's subunit, yeah, and it's yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. One of the things that I kind of wanted to stress, I suppose, is just that when I was saying at the beginning, like this seems like my initial impression of being like this, being like a committee trying to make money by putting incongruous things together and all that. It has nothing to do with the actual history. That this was basically they were looking around for sort of clubs they could make, subgroups they could make. They told Koba, like, you make one, will you?
Yeah.
And so he came up with this, and so this was it was just part of Sakura Gakuin. It was like they performed as a group, and then they split up into little units and performed as those, and it only really sort of became an external thing when Sue graduated, and so it was sort of like it was no longer clear exactly how it fit in the context of Sakura Gakuin.
Yeah. When in Sakura Gakuin, they kind of just stopped performing Babymetal altogether once Sue graduated. But the thing with Babymetal is it really took off because sometimes subunits would get their own like music videos and stuff. Obviously with Babymetal, and then Logica would have a couple, and then there's a Twinkle Stars one, two actually, and with Babymetal, their music videos got a lot more attention than like the rest of like the SG stuff. So that's pretty much like how it split. Like pretty much people were picking up only the Babymetal portion of Sakura Gakuin because it was getting so popular, and then and then yeah, just the rest of history. They start performing a couple overseas stuff, and then just kind of exploded after that.
So they did. I mean, I believe that there was a question even up until pretty much the last second about whether it was going to continue after Sue left. In any form, and I think what they did is ultimately just sort of spun it off so that again within the SG lore, Moa knew we were doing an extracurricular activity.
Yeah, that's pretty much. They didn't really. They weren't too. Oh hey, they're doing Babymetal performing overseas while they're still in Sakura Gakuin and whatnot, and yeah.
Well, in fact, actually, it is interesting. I hadn't thought about that much before just now, but Babymetal almost got kind of ignored within Sakura Gakuin after Sue left. I mean, so Moa and Yui would go away, and they would occasionally refer to it like, mocking each other's packing practices on trips and stuff on Low Girl, but generally speaking, Babymetal was no longer a topic that SG talked about. Until everybody was gone, and then at that point, I think they did re-perform a couple of the Babymetal songs a couple of times in the history after none of the original members were there. That's right. Right. There's in these shuffle units.
So maybe then is it a good time to transition and talk about why we're talking about Sakura Gakuin?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, you want to start, somebody, or you just want me to go?
Well, what did you have in mind?
Well, for me, Sakura Gakuin is relevant in this podcast episode today because one current member, one graduate that's not Suzuka, Moa, or Yui, recently performed in Babymetal. Them being Kano Fujihira and Momoko Okazaki. And with them, it's that just, I feel like when we talked about, oh hey, Sue she's super professional but she's really dorky, learning about a personality like that, I feel like people now there's Kano and Momoko have so much more stuff now with like to learn about them, like their personalities.
So why is it cool, or maybe it's not cool, or why is it interesting, maybe is a better word, that we have two SG members now performing with Babymetal?
It's awesome because it was really unexpected. Because whenever a graduate graduates from Sakura Gakuin, it's always, we always want them to be super successful and have get a big following, because unfortunately not every graduate becomes super famous. We've had a few actually leave entertainment entirely. And so when your favorite is one of those, it's a little heartbreaking to know that you may never see her again.
Sure.
And it's awesome for now because they pretty much got, Kano and Momoko got thrown on the biggest stage, or one of the biggest stages you can be in when it comes into entertainment, and that's Babymetal. So Babymetal has that pulling power to not only give them like I was saying earlier, dancers as jobs, but have other companies or someone looking for dancers. There's this girl in Babymetal. She can I don't know what the future is for the Avengers things, but or how long they plan to do it, but when you put them on the map like that, you give them more opportunities, and we only want these girls to be really successful. So,
and it is, I mean, it really does show that Babymetal is not, at least as a full organization, forgotten its origins. I mean, it's I found it very surprising, actually, that they did this. I would have never guessed that that's where they would have drawn this talent from. But at the same time, I mean, this is all kind of a single organization in a way.
Yeah.
So I think you brought up an interesting point why don't you think that this was feasible, or that this would ever happen? That they would pull more people out of Sakura Gakuin for Babymetal?
Well, Koba has a history of banning pink things or Sakura Gakuin related things at shows. Like and we know he didn't like SG a few years ago because he there was this like where he banned flags, and like that was kind of weird. And so we had there's a person who made a bunch of Sakura Gakuin towels that had the thing, and his named by Renee Colorado. I don't know. Shout out to Renee. He made a bunch of Sakura Gakuin towels in 2016, I think. Yeah, and he brought it to the first I think one of the first shows on the U.S. tour. And when he brought it there's a big announcement afterwards, like, okay, we're not no towels will be allowed at Babymetal. So, and that's kind of surprised us because for the VIP gift that year, you got a towel. So, like,
crazy.
That like, I know we do lore and speculation a lot when it comes to Babymetal, but that just right there, we're just like, okay, you can come to the conclusion that he doesn't want any Sakura Gakuin association with Babymetal at that point in time. So,
yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I think it's. I can sort of see a couple of different angles from that, because I mean, like, I think you could still consider, Sakura Gakuin part of the family without. I mean, it could be a little bit like, waving a bunch of mini Patty merch around at a Twinkle Star concert, right? You know, or whatever. It's sort of like, that's fine, but it's unrelated. And moreover, it's like sort of such a conceptually different thing than a road to graduation.
Right.
So it's fair to say it was kind of a big deal that these two showed up on stage with Babymetal.
Yeah, because it was our assumption from the international Fukai community was at least Koba didn't want to touch SG ever again with a 10-foot pole. And lo and behold, Kano shows up Yokohama, and
surprise.
The breaking news. Literally breaking all of us.
What other talent pools would Koba have besides SG to pick and choose from? I mean, he found Riho, right? But is there any other besides Morning Musume that he'd be able to pick from?
There's plenty of like Amuse kids or like like groups, I guess, in Amuse. I don't know how their business practices work, but I'm sure they have plenty of people to choose from. It's just very weird to pull from SG, knowing his history and whatnot.
And I mean, I think, although I would expect that, Koba might have opinions or whatever, but I also am fairly sure, and people are, reminding of this in the chat room as well, that probably most of this was deferred to Mikiko's recommendations. Ask the person who knows the dancers who would be good dancers for this. So, and particularly if this really is a kind of a temporary spot, then great place to kind of get people.
So maybe, who are these girls? Maybe we should. We're supposed to be talking about Avengers, right?
Right.
So I think we've laid a foundation here, and it's pretty solid.
Maybe
maybe a little all over the place, but
yeah.
I think we have the foundation laid.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think, there's actually something, I think I want to kind of lead into this with one little thing that we haven't really, I think, mentioned, but so with Sumo and Yui in, the sort of older Sakura Gakuin, one thing that I cannot, not believe that this is, not part of sort of like the showbiz training, but they sort of pick some sort of aspect of themselves that winds up being a kind of a consistent way that you know them. So if you ever ask anything about, Yui will always talk about loving tomatoes, and maybe she really does, but I think probably she says it more often, than she feels it, right? Or, it's just...
Who knows if she even feels that way now, because we haven't heard from her in a long time, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a separate thing. Like, we don't know anything about these people from after they were 15.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I think they kind of they kind of stuck with consistent things. So like Momo likes food, Yui likes to wear things as hats, Sue doesn't know how to tie her shoes or ride a bicycle or that sort of thing. And I'm kind of blazing through these things quickly. I guess if you didn't already know those things, that's the kind of stuff that you get out of the sort of like watching these little videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But so to lead back into, I think, the thing that we were about to talk about, I don't know, like I assume that there are such things for Kano and for Momoko, but I don't know what they are,
there's plenty of like stuff. For example, Kano is known for scoring very low on Nendo tests. And as what we mentioned earlier, just a test at the end of the year. Momoko is very I would define her as very like derpy, and because on Low Girl she would make faces like all the time, literally all the time, and both of them are actually part of like little fake subunit, I guess, where they would be really really loud during lessons. And it's called KYG. And there's a translation for that, but I'm not going to try to butcher it because I haven't said it in a while. You guys can probably... But it basically, KYG translates to Terrible Yeah Corpse, where they're just really loud during like lessons and stuff.
That's funny.
That's just like a lot of the small things you find while following SG, stuff like that.
All right, let's see. I feel like there should be sort of more to say about. So let's see. So Momoko finished a little while ago, right?
Yeah, she graduated last year, but her graduation year was 2017 Nendo. Because it's weird because it's the Nendo right now is 2019, but this year graduates in March 2020. And then Momoko's years was Nendo 2017, but she graduated March 2018. It's Japanese fiscal year format, so it's...
Yeah, I know I find that actually a little bit, confusing because I think the photo books and the RTG, maybe the RTG actually has the Nendo year, but the photo books have the calendar year on them, so they're always like they always seem like a year later.
Yeah, it can be very confusing sometimes.
So just to confirm, Momoko recently graduated, and then Kano is going to be graduating next year?
Kano. Pronounced
Kano.
And she's graduating in March, yes. That's the plan.
Okay.
If that's the plan, can they not graduate?
The only special case is Mariri. She left when Suzuki graduated because she wanted to completely focus on modeling. And that's the only instance of that was the only instance of someone in Sakura Gakuin not graduating at 15.
I see.
Yeah. Well, and she actually graduated elementary school, but then also left at the same time, I think.
Yeah. Well, the way it works, you graduate elementary, and then you do 3 years of middle school. Then, but depending on when you transfer in, obviously, like not everybody transfers in during 5th year elementary because of like what they need. They don't want to stack too many people during like 5th years and then stuff like that. So it like when every year there's this thing called the transference ceremony, and every year it's usually like a different, like they're all like different grades, and to me it would kind of take away a lot of the fun if it were 5th graders every single year, because it's going to be them. I guess it's like you can call that speculation season for SG, because April and May is kind of when who are the transfers in. Like we look at all the Muse kids, or maybe people from SG's like kind of sister group, Chow Smiles. Yeah.
Well, that actually that's also sort of an interesting connection. I know very little about them, but there are these sort of groups that these people participate in at an even younger age. So we have some Chow Smiles stuff with like really tiny, Yuis and stuff.
Yeah, you can almost see it as like almost you could see it as it's not a subunit officially, but it's the members from Chow Smiles are sometimes pulled to join SG. So But as a Fuke, you pretty much follow Sakura Gakuin and Chao Smiles. But to get back on topic, Kano Momoko, they all did Chao like they've been in like Chao magazines, which is the like little, how should it say, like merch selling company, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, we that's not really too relevant right now. So I'm just going in tangent because I like talking about Sakura Gakuin. Too deep. Too deep.
Okay.
Too deep. But yeah, just any like specific question you want to know, or like anything on your mind that you want to, or maybe like the viewers might want to know.
Well, I think maybe like for Riho, and we can edit this part out. Go through. You have notes for just general. This is Kano. This is Momoko. A little bit of where we've seen them, who they are, that kind of thing, broken up in a more easier to digest way.
Like, do you want me to separate them by like the year?
Well, we saw Kano first, right? So maybe we start there.
Well, they both transferred in at the same time in 2015. Momoko transferred in as a first year middle school, and Kano transferred in as a fifth year elementary school. Like I was saying earlier, not everybody transfers in that fifth year. They pull what they need and who they like, I guess, or who they think is most fitted for SG in that year. Whoever's like trying to try out for SG. So
well, they also they must be aiming to have somewhere like between 2 and 4 people graduating at every year, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen more than that. And I guess there was one year when it was just Sue.
So. Well, Sue's case was different because Mariri, like mentioned earlier, she left when Sue graduated. So,
but no one was in Sue's year. Like there wasn't anyone who
there wasn't anyone
would have been graduating with her even if they'd stayed. So, but every other year it's been 2 to 4, right?
Yeah, 2 to 4. This year it'll be 4, Kano included. Momoko graduated with 2 other girls, so 3 total. 2017. Yeah.
So one thing about Kano that didn't get mentioned so far, I don't think, is that she's currently the student council president or something like that. And maybe that's actually just one thing that I thought was kind of interesting about SG that we haven't mentioned is that they do get kind of, I think, actually meaningful roles to play. I mean, like they get titles, and with those titles comes some responsibility. So someone is responsible for picking set lists, and someone is responsible for various other things. Yeah. Could you say something about those things?
Oh yeah. Basically every year, the most senior members, middle school third years, sometimes middle school second years, would get positions, and for example, the Nendo president, which has been Incarnation ever since the beginning of she is pretty much the leader, and they would pretty much be seen as like the for lack of a better word, like for the center, like we were talking about Riho earlier in Morning Musume, that like kind of like the leader for that current year.
And
so
as far as I can tell, it's actually true even behind the scenes too. I mean, like at least from what you hear, the president is actually also kind of like running rehearsals and stuff.
Yeah. It's very unclear on how much like staff is involved with like telling them what to do, or how much the Nendo president actually does. But it is fair to say, well, like anything else in life, the most senior members will tutor and help the younger ones. So and to go back on top of the council is pretty much, they usually comprise of the Nendo president, and then depending, a common theme of positions is something that the staff wants a girl to like be to grow into more. For example, there will be like a talk chairman where they would do a lot of the talking during lives, or like performance chairman where they would be in charge to or like focusing on growth of the younger ones, on like the performances and whatnot. So just stuff like positions like that. There's a few more, but I don't think I would want to extend too much. So.
But I guess I do think it is interesting that I believe in reality, and certainly in what we're told, they are given actual responsibility and get to make their own creative choices and stuff, which is cool. But then so that ties back into all this other stuff because Kano was president, which is like it's a prestigious spot to have, and actually everyone else except Momoko was also president.
Yeah,
at their relevant point.
Yeah,
well, I guess not Yui.
Yeah,
Yui was what she was some sort of performance chair thing.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I can't remember
something like that.
Sorry, too much Sakura Gakuin stuff. Yeah, producer, I believe. Yeah, it's producer chair. Yeah, and Momoko was a Gambare chairperson. Gambare meaning like fighting or like motivated to, which is actually a Sakura Gakuin song. Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Or do your best. Yeah.
Well, and it features at least some of our medals, running around on a bridge or whatever.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I particularly wanted to mention. I guess just to re-say that. Actually, maybe there's one thing that we didn't actually say about this, which is that Sakura Gakuin is, it's finished at the end of junior high. So all these kids are quite young. You can see them, see them sometimes in the context of like the Tokyo Idol Festival and things like that, where, it's actually kind of funny. Like, these little kids, next to these like, much older. And also, I don't know how to put this exactly, but like almost all the other idol groups are a lot more sort of risque. And Sakura Gakuin is appropriately pretty conservative.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot about them. And that's one of the things that keeps me from getting past the edge of Sakura Gakuin, because I'm not sure that I like what I see in the rest of the idol world.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a beautiful thing about Sakura Gakuin songs and like their themes in general. It's always talking about moving forward, like graduation, like friendship, just like really innocent things like you expect like a young child to like grasp. And a lot of the songs actually like have very like mature lyrics about like I said earlier, moving on, like friendships and whatnot. So it is very like innocent in that regard, and really adorable when you follow everything. So
yeah. And I think that like my misperception of what idol culture was just generally, well, maybe that wasn't a misperception of the general part, but it was one of the things that sort of kept me from getting from Babymetal to Sakura Gakuin for a while. I'm like, this I don't want to even touch this. But I was wrong to think that way. And so hopefully this will help encourage people to check out Sakura Gakuin. Morning Musume is not so much like this.
No,
not at all.
A common word I hear thrown around a lot is the golden era, when Yui and Moa graduated. But at this current iteration with Kano still in, and when Momoko, when she was in, people like to throw the term golden era. But now, like if you watch a lot of the recent performances, Sakura is just a lot tighter and cleaner as a performance unit compared to like the older times. So
I'm sure they've.
I would say
sort of learned.
if you're a fan of just performances in general, Sakura Gakuin is still like a fantastic thing to follow, because they've only gotten better like ever since Yui and Moa graduated. So,
well, and there's one thing with the structure that I feel like we haven't hit completely, which is that it is at least designed to keep you there and like keep you invested. You have like new people coming in and old people going out, and you're sad for the old people going out. But while you watched the whoever it was that you were sort of interested in watching, you came to know all the other people, and so they're still there even when your people are gone. And
Yeah.
I think for me, probably what kind of made me like there are I sort of know the people that were there but not graduating in the 2014 Nendo, but I just I think I probably just hit a saturation point. But with now that we have Kano taking us all the way up till now, from that point, now there's a place to grab on, and that might be enough to get me back in. I know that for my part, it was not that I thought it got worse. It's just that I sort of ran out of energy.
Yeah, to follow. Yeah, it's I would say, it's a lot. It's a lot to follow, and it's definitely a deep hole to go into. But once you're in, it's amazing because there's currently 36 members and graduates in total, and they're almost always doing something. Like always. Like they're always about maybe 10 or so ish people have like Twitters and Instagrams, and like there's all those pictures coming out, and then they're in plays, they're in movies. There's actually what's awesome, recently one of the members recently was in a lead for a movie, and it premiered in Toronto. So she was in Toronto for that premiere, and she got to meet a few Fuki too. So to follow SG, it would be like if it would like to do stuff like that, to be like overseas and like just to see them, like if you look at I assume a lot of the Kitsunes have seen like Ayaka in the older SG stuff, but it was still awesome to see that she's going overseas and meeting other fans, like some of her fans and whatnot. So
yeah, that was cool. I think we talked about that a little bit when like because she actually met the Wonderful Journey Pops.
Yeah.
Also, Hinata, another one from back then, showed up in the U.S. at some sort of anime convention, I think in Chicago or something.
Yeah.
So
that was just this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, and honestly, I think that SG is not super well known over here.
No, it is not.
And honestly, I think that probably it's much, much, much more well known due to the fact that Babymetal came out of SG.
Yeah, safe to say. I wouldn't be here if Babymetal wasn't.
But at the same time, it is pretty cool. I'm actually looking kind of forward to seeing like this movie that Ayaka's in and stuff. I have no idea if I'm gonna understand it, but it'll be whatever. Singing.
It was recently announced that they would have subtitles with it. So
okay.
And Japanese don't normally automatically have English subtitles and a lot of this stuff. They're very reserved, Japan only kind of mentality. So. Yeah. But yeah, it's stuff like that. It's just like to see Ayaka to premiere a movie like outside Japan, or to see Kano and Momoko perform Babymetal, just to see them, watch them grow up and be on the big stage like that. You can't help but cry because of like how proud you are for all these girls.
So that's, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not the first time Kano and Momoko have performed Babymetal in air quotes, right?
You should mention that maybe.
Yeah. Kano was in that we know of. Kano not every year, but every now and then they would have this thing called Shuffle Nights, where they would perform older like SG subunit songs and perform in them. And there was one instance where they brought back Babymetal and they performed "Give Me Chocolate." So, and awesome. Kano was in that with fellow members Asomaya and Hideka Marin, also amazing members, by the way.
I think Kano was. I think I remember people saying she was in the Moa role. Yeah.
And speaking of Moa, actually, in one of the fresh episodes, the current low girl, to call it, Kano referred to Moa as Moa-sama. and and how she's always like studying Moa's like dancing and stuff in Babymetal, and then Mori kind of made a joke saying, "Oh hey, Babymetal, give Kano a chance," and then here we are. she I guess they did.
Oh, awesome. So was that was before then she performed? This happened.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
This with Mori Sensei, this interaction happened before her debut on stage with Babymetal. I hadn't heard that. You said that Mori Sensei was joking that Babymetal should give her a chance.
Yeah.
Did that happened before that she actually performed?
No. To our knowledge, no. It was just Mori saying, "Oh, hey, just give Kano a chance." Cause
going forward.
Going forward.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like somewhere before.
Oh no.
They had mentioned that, and then suddenly she's on stage.
No, yeah.
So maybe I will just quick ask Garrett. How are you doing, Garrett?
Doing good.
So a lot of this stuff is like this stuff that you didn't know before. Is there anything that struck you that you wanted to dig into any further?
A lot of the stuff I found very interesting. Like, whenever I first heard about SG, it was always like, it's a TV show of a school, and now I know it's like nothing like that. It's kind of it's a way to expand skills and talents to move on to something greater, like Babymetal or being in music groups, etc. So I had no idea about any of that. That's opened my eyes quite a bit, and like, I didn't really get a full understanding of what it would be like to watch like a new transfer come in and then watch them for 4 or 5 years and then eventually graduate. I didn't really have an appreciation for that at all. So hearing you guys talk about all this stuff has really kind of opened my eyes and got me interested a little bit, because I was that guy who was like, oh, I'm into Babymetal, I'm not really into this, and I wouldn't really want to be into this. But now, learning all these things, I'm like more likely to give it a chance, and I hope all the other new fans out there will also give it a chance.
Yeah. Actually, one thing that this reminds me too is that we haven't even mentioned the diaries, which I think are still ongoing.
Oh yeah.
But
I've read several of those.
There's a lot of stuff I could talk about, but I'm only here for your curiosity, so I don't want to give you everything. So we'll be here till the US tour starts if you want me to say everything. So.
Right. It's true. But yeah, I mean, I guess maybe just a quick one sentence about that, which is that they periodically will write these little sort of like notes to fans, which are cast as diary entries and often have little photos. And so, I mean, there's yet another place where you can kind of get a sense of like what they individually are like.
Yeah, and diaries have been around since Sakura Gakuin, so a lot of the what Sue wrote, Suzuka, Yui, and Mo wrote, they like there's plenty of those just to learn. Like, they would talk about like small things like, oh, today I went to like a cafe with X member or whatever, and then you'd see pictures of it and be really cute. And sometimes like current members, they would bring in graduates like that, because obviously when you graduate Sakura Gakuin, you don't write any more diaries. And for a lot of the graduates that we don't see anymore, sometimes they would appear on like a current girl's diary, and we'd be like super excited because like, oh, we haven't seen her forever, and then this is a picture of her. Like, glad she's doing well. It's just like, it's also like, it's just a small thing to have sometime every now and then have us like updates on like graduates that we don't really see anymore too. But in general, diaries are just are there are even more stuff to get into their personalities and whatnot. So
yeah, there's a lot of material for everybody. But I think it's actually, it's not super overwhelming. It's only like super overwhelming.
A little bit.
So it's kind of doable.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of it, you do have to kind of, at least I do, have to kind of wait for things to get translated. So not all the diary entries are translated and stuff.
Yeah. But they're getting there.
Yeah.
Getting there.
And thank you, to a great deal to whoever it is that's doing, the various translations.
Yeah. And if you ever feel overwhelmed, don't forget to like, there's plenty of people that are listening right now that are showing up for the live edition of this podcast, but there's all these people, I guarantee you they'll they'll be more than happy to go into like the finer details of like a Sakura Gakuin and what everything like everything is about, and because not a single Fuki knows everything because of all the information, and all, like anybody with a Fuki name in here or a Fuki in here will be more than happy to help hold your hand guiding through all of this. Like honestly, I love it when new people get into SG because that means I can revisit old content again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we usually when you get someone in SG, you usually start with the older stuff because periodically, obviously, it makes sense to go from 2010 first and 2011, etc., etc., etc. So like new people is still a great thing to expand SG's popularity and for us to revisit like older stuff because as I said earlier, it's hard to keep up with like the older stuff because there's always new stuff going on. So yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
So
It's like
it's
pretty much like it's like when the new person finds Babymetal, you show them Metrock, the Metrock performance. Like it's obvious default. Like hey,
Yep.
yeah.
So I mentioned what feels like 3 hours ago that it was exciting that Kano and Momoko were performing with Babymetal.
Yeah.
I want to know what it was like in the Fouquet community when the news broke Yokohama Night 2 that Kano was on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This oh my god. Sorry. I just
Sounds like it's good.
I just kind of cry like every time I think about it. Cuz she's been my favorite ever since day one, and obviously it was in Japan time, and I was sorry. I was out of town, and then my phone was kind of blowing up. Like, okay, it's like 6 a.m. and like I was in Florida this time. I'm from California, by the way, and I was in Florida, and I'm checking my phone like why do I have all these pings, and then someone says in the Discord the announcement, check the announcement channel, and then I just see Kano Metal, and then it says a kind of like pixelated photo of Kano on the big screen of Yokohama, and like, I was like super confused because like wait, this is like a tribute show that SG did or something, or like some like what is this? And then someone told me like, oh dude, she performed Babymetal. I'm like, and then I had to go outside because I had like five other people in the room. They're still sleeping, so no one. Then like, okay, I go outside, and then I was like really like, and then like yeah, and then after that I just immediately started sobbing, and it's yeah, I don't think I've cried more than I have in that moment. Like it was a lot of tears. It was a lot.
It's amazing that she also got the videos too. I mean, like all those millions of views that are coming in for these two.
Yeah, Papaya and Elevated Girl. It's it's surreal right now. Like I can't. Yeah, and she's always idolized them. So, like it's like you have a daughter, and then she really wants to perform with like Beyonce or something, and then you see her like performing like with Beyonce. It's just you can't help but feel like a rush of emotions, and how proud you are of her.
Right, and how she must be feeling being there too.
Yeah. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's that's an understatement.
So, I feel like I've seen some clips of people being asked what subunit they would like to be in, and everybody's saying they want to be in the heavy music one. Is that also true of Kano and Momoko, that they both expressed prior interest in doing this?
There wasn't too many. There's only Momoko was the only one that like really said, "Oh, I would like to be in Babymetal."
Okay,
but but for the most part, there's different subunits beyond Babymetal in Sakura Gakuin,
Oh yeah.
and like each has a different aesthetic. So it's not it's not like like there wasn't any like branded trail marks that said, "Oh, Kano and Momoko confirmed in Babymetal" when they said, "Oh, they want to join BM or whatever." It's just instance of Kano. Okay, she idolizes Moe-sama and she does choreography a lot, and Momoko's like, "Oh, I'd like to try being in Babymetal sometime," and stuff like that. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do. I mean, like, you know, I do find at least most of the subunit things. You know, they're also interesting in their own way. So, and this is now a super tangent, but I was just reminded that I'd never said this before. That so as far as I know, anyway, Babymetal and Twinkle Stars and Logica are the only ones that actually released independent singles, like singles that were not Sakura Gakuin singles, but actually like a Logica single and a Twinkle Stars single.
Yeah, correct.
So that's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
That you know, Babymetal isn't even alone in that. You know, like it's really still part of the whole SG.
Yeah,
thing.
it just so happened the Babymetals got a lot more attention. Compared to the Logica and Twinkle Star stuff. So.
Yeah, I think that was probably right ultimately, but Mini Patty is pretty good though. It's like, you know,
the
video
reason for
game
that
music
is
about food.
Yeah, the reason for that is there's Mini Patty actually has their own producer on like there's a special producer that comes into SG like, okay, we need another Mini Patty song, and so that's why like there's been up until like a couple of years ago there's been a Mini Patty song every year, and me personally I feel like Mini Patty's songs has the most consistent like enjoyment for me compared to other subunit songs, and that shows with them bringing in a producer for that sort of thing. So
yeah, and I have, you know, I'm sort of extra attached to them just because it has both Yui and Moa in it, and at least the generation that I was watching. But they've continued it on.
And like funny enough, Momoko, our third Avenger, was in the third iteration in Mini Patty as well. So,
excellent.
So it's all intertwined.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all related some way, some form.
So I think in the notes, I don't know if this is even doable, but in the notes, kind of like the next thing I would guess, if to the extent that we're following them at all, is to kind of like talk about things that you might sort of seek out to watch. And I think we've mentioned a lot of these things before, but we can maybe remind people. Going back to our very first news item, it might be really hard to find some of them now, because Dailymotion is where a lot of them were. But is there anything that do you think people should specifically like maybe start with?
Me personally, I would go towards the 2016 festival performances, which in my mind is the Metrock of SG performances, because you can see in those performances that compared to like to the older stuff of how crisp and clean like their dancing is and how well they harmonize, and it has like the best camera angles and editing in my opinion to any performances. And I would start with 2016 festivals, but by festival I mean every year Sakura Gakuin has like a little festival. Every year there's a Sakura Gakuin festival and Road to Graduation. Road to Graduation is when they graduate, and in festival it's usually a day or two of performances and like a little skit over like the act out stuff, and sometimes it's usually when subunits would be premiered too for that year. So I would definitely check out 2016 festival for 2016 festival footage, because we didn't get the full DeLorean.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
So the road to graduation things are, you know, every year you can get like, you know, the every year you can buy them, but it seems to me like there was only not every festival I think was available. Like there's a 2013 one I think that you could get, but it seems like those you might have to rely on. I don't know where they come from actually. Where does the video for those come from? Are they on the special editions of the album?
Okay, there's been 3 festivals that's released on DeLorean. It's 2013, 2017, and 2018.
Okay.
And the 2016 ones were special because they're about the three performances that were put on the album for that year. So that's where the 2016 festival footage come from. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so particularly for kind of getting a sense of the more recent Sakura Gakuin, that's a good place to start.
Sorry, what?
So particularly for the more recent, like looking at the more recent Sakura Gakuin posts Moa and Yui. I think the what was it? I guess it would have been the 2014. I don't know how they label it, but the Road to Graduation that Moa and Yui graduated in.
Yes.
So that was in March 2015.
Mm-hmm.
That one is available on Blu-ray and is
Yes.
pretty good. So if you want to see the closing out of that era, I think that's a really good one to watch.
Yeah. Also, I would recommend that, and then watching the 2015 transfer ceremony, which is the transfer ceremony immediately after Yui and Moa graduated, because that's the year Kano and our second and third Avengers, Kano and Momoko, joined, and that's really like the start of like when you can follow all the stuff in Sakura Gakuin. So.
And then, anybody else? Any sort of maybe earlier stuff that features Sue and maybe Moa and Yui that we should point to?
Like I said, mentioned the 4 or 5 so logo episodes, Moa and Yui, and there isn't any Suzuka stuff off the top of my head besides the Sun episodes and the Nintendo test, like I mentioned. But there's definitely more for Suzuka and Moa to get into, because like I said, there's, like I've mentioned the entire podcast, it's a lot of stuff. So
yeah, there was an image that just showed up in the chat that reminds me of something that I was going to mention, which is that in one of the I think it was on Friends, which I think is the second album, there was, I'm pretty sure it was that one. They did these little like student films. And so you can see Sue acting in one of them, which is really, I'm sure she's a better actor now, but some of that stuff really funny.
Yeah, it's you can see like it's obviously very lighthearted and not too serious, because the acting obviously it's not going to win any Oscars or anything, but it's still really, it's nice to just watch them like be out of their Babymetal outfits and just be kind of people, I guess.
I don't know, Kevin, do you have any things you want to just specifically point to?
Like it's just about like Suzuka's, like,
just earlier stuff. I'm just sort of feeling like I want to make sure everybody's has a chance to talk.
As I said earlier, the Sun episodes, the Ninja tests, first 3, 2010, 2011, 2012, that has all of Suemoa in. And there's a lot more. Obviously, just like I said earlier, just reach out to Fuki and they'll tell you. Like, I don't know every single thing Suzuka is in, or every single thing Moa is in, but there's a lot of stuff. I promise you, if you want to dive in more their Sakura Gakuin background.
So maybe I'll also say the that's the Smile documentary. That's not a bad idea.
It's damn, completely forgot about it. Jeez. See, so much stuff. I can't even remember that. It's a nice 1.5 hour long documentary that came in with the RTG 2011, which was the first RTG. And it's 1.5 hours, and then it talks about like the beginnings of SG and tells you a bunch of, you can see a lot of their personalities in it and whatnot. So
it's if you didn't care about the people, it's kind of tedious. But it is, I mean, it basically shows you a lot of the stuff that's happening right at the beginning. So we have a portion of the first show, including the first Babymetal show, but also just all this stuff and little interviews with people. that's actually a really good thing, a good pile of content that you can look at that still features Sue.
Yeah. Yeah, small documentary. I said, and then there's a lot of stuff. You just gotta dig with the whole Dailymotion exploding. But there's plenty of people willing to help.
Yeah.
And share.
And so the thing I was about to say before somebody posted an image from the Smile documentary that reminded me, but so a lot of this stuff, as far as I know, can no longer be bought directly from Amuse. So like particularly any of this sort of like older albums and all their special editions. So more recently, the special edition's only number 2. So there's like a Sakura edition and a Gakuin edition rather than a Saku and a Ra edition.
Yeah.
But you can, if you sort of dig around on Yahoo Auctions Japan, or Yahoo Japan Auctions, or whatever order that goes in, a lot of times you can find those things, but some of this stuff can be super expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, definitely would not be surprising to find, any individual edition being like $100 or so. So, but even with Dailymotion Exploded, if you have the physical thing, you have the video.
Yeah.
So, but I think almost all the videos on those early ones are fun to look at.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of stuff.
Okay. Okay. I've done a terrible job at directing traffic here. So, Kevin, how's it going?
Well, we're in another country, so take that for what it is.
Here to help.
Yeah. And Garrett, any other things you were wanting to get in there?
I don't have anything at this moment now.
Okay. Okay, so there's a million things though, and as we keep talking, more suggestions keep going by in the chat room and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but what Gabe says, I think that it's actually pretty easy to find people to talk to about this. Everybody who knows about it loves to talk about it. You'll be standing quite possibly with people in long lines for many hours.
Yeah. And
waiting for
odds are there might be a Puki or two to tell you about all this stuff. So
almost certainly there'll be people who know some non-overlapping set of things that from you. So that's what makes the lines fun.
Yeah, definitely. I will mention though, the Momoko Avenger appearance was a lot more shocking for me first, because when Momoko graduated, shortly before graduation, graduates would tell them their graduation plans. And before Momoko graduated, she was in a commercial, and she was in the Black Butler live action play. So it's fair to assume that Momoko has her future set. She's gonna be in like lots of plays, maybe a commercial too. But our news, the news that she gave us shortly before her graduation, was she was gonna be leaving entertainment. More specifically, she said she's going to the land of dreams. And a lot of people didn't know what that means. We don't know. And short time later, after she graduated, her abuse profile is gone, and then we didn't know how is she doing. We haven't seen a picture of her in a while. And lo and behold, she shows up at the Taiwan show, and it kind of blows our minds, because it's probably one of the honestly to me, one of the farthest things I saw happening. Momoko joining, I understand Kano because she's always kind of idolize them and whatnot, but Momoko thing is, this girl left entertainment and she's entertaining us right now. I can't.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. I know that several people have. So Okazaki, for example, left entirely, and back when we were thinking about who we'd want to bring in, she was one of the ones that I thought would be good.
Common.
But yeah, no, I didn't realize that people thought Momoko was kind of gone. So that's extra cool.
Yeah. It's very 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 cool. It's still hard to think about. I mean, I'm surprised of Kano, but the Momoko thing is still like it's still like kind of recovering from the news, I guess, just because
Right.
she leaves entertainment and like, oh hey, the biggest bang you can probably have, and oh, I'm in Babymetal for this performance. So
Yeah, and so she's only been in one so far, but there are so many shows coming up.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
it's, I'm sure we'll see her again.
Yeah, pretty much role like whoever you see, honestly, Riho, Kano, Momoko, I'm sure they will give it their best, 110%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they've all done. They all did great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think perhaps we should get somewhat close to winding this down. I don't know how long we've been recording, but it seems like forever.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Coming up on 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess maybe the very last thing then that we could say is do you Gabe, do you want to like plug anything or sort of any specific thing that you want people to go to, like for example your Discord server or whatever?
Oh yeah. There's this. We have a little. I don't know if you guys know, but there's a little. It's a thing called SciTube,
Oh yeah.
where you pretty much you watch videos on it, and pretty much there's a long playlist of Sakura Gakuin stuff playing on there, of like, just so if you just wanted to like just hop in, you maybe got like an hour or two to kill every now and then. Sometimes we'd have watch parties over there whenever like an RTG or a festival comes out, and we'd go there to watch stuff. So there's stuff always playing. It's a big like long playlist of stuff going on if you just want to go in and watch. And the link to the Discord where all the Fuke are on that page too.
Okay.
So yeah, just if you're interested at all in SG after this episode, please swing there or join the Discord, and then we'll be happy to guide you to the way of Fukidom.
Is that what you call it?
I like to call it that.
Okay. Yes, SciTube's quite cool. I would also second that as a thing to do, because you get to, it's sort of like you get to watch it with people, and
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
fun. It's
And-
really
yeah. Like I'm never opposed to watching older stuff. So especially if I'm getting a newer fan into it, like it's fun.
Yeah.
It's like you're showing a friend your favorite movie and they haven't seen it. Like you're just waiting for their reaction to like, oh,
that's kind of
that
fun.
kind of small thing.
I think the technology behind SciTube is really basically just that it's taking existing audio from like what used to be on Dailymotion or YouTube or whatever. It's not
Yeah.
it's not storing.
It's
it,
not
just
it's not
syncing
storing
everybody.
anything. It's just syncing everybody. Yeah. It's like it's meant for like watch parties and whatnot. So
Yeah. Okay. Anything anyone else wants to add? Kevin, Garrett?
No, none from me.
Everyone wants to go to sleep. Okay, so we'll close it off. I believe that probably we will not be quite as dense with episodes in the near future, but who knows?
Mm.
Thanks, Gabe, for joining us.
Yeah. happy to be
Yes,
here.
thank you for joining us.
happy-
Lots of good information from
happy
you.
to
I
be there.
appreciate it.
If anybody listening needs like SG info or wants to know a question or something, maybe I can like, or looking for a video or whatever, just hit me up on DMs. Sour Patch
Okay.
Parent on Discord. You can find me. Or like I said earlier, all these lots of Fuke if I'm not around to help you with stuff. So
Great.
we're always willing for new members, new Fuke. So
Excellent. Thanks. So that's it for this episode. You can join us on the Baby Metal Podcast Discord to continue the conversation. Rating the podcast on whatever platform you listen on will help people find it, so please do that. We'll be back here in 1 to some number of weeks. We hope you'll join us whenever that is. And until then, see you.